Breaking news! The season hasn't even started, and the Dolphins locker room already feels like a ticking time bomb. I'm serious, something's wrong. Ever get that feeling that everything seems fine on the surface, but you know there's chaos behind the scenes? That's exactly what's happening in Miami right now. Injuries, last-minute roster changes, surprise cuts, decisions that aren't just confusing, they're downright alarming. And the worst part? Those in charge are either downplaying the problems or trying to sell us a version of reality that simply doesn't hold up. Things are changing fast, and what I just discovered could change how we view this team heading into week 1. Trust me, you'll want to stick around for this analysis. But before I delve into everything, make sure you click like only if you've been following the Dolphins through their ups and downs. If you're one of those fans who's been following the team for decades, comment, "Go Dolphins!" I love you unconditionally. Now let's talk about the fire that's starting to burn behind the scenes in South Florida. The Dolphins are now facing the start of the season without their kicker, Jason Sanders. That's right, Sanders is expected to be sidelined for 4 to 5 weeks with a hip injury. This isn't just any injury. This is a massive blow, especially considering how clutch Sanders was last year, contributing to key victories with his reliable leg. But what makes this situation more infuriating isn't just the injury itself, it's the way it was handled and communicated to the fans. Once again, Mike McDaniel came out, downplayed it, and said everything looked fine. Then boom, the truth hits like a sack on third down. We're without a kicker to start the year. Back on August 24th, McDaniel publicly stated that Sanders should be available for week 1 against Indianapolis. Then, just a short while later, reports from Adam Schefter and Barry Jackson began to surface that imaging was being done, that the situation might be more serious than McDaniel led us to believe. Fans, myself included, called it out. And once again, those of us raising the red flags were told we were overreacting. Well, here we are, 4 to 5 weeks. Potentially IR or the PUP list. This is not the first time McDaniel's words haven't lined up with reality. He did the same thing with Alexander Mattison last year, said it was a neck issue, didn't sound serious, and then bam, season-ending surgery. It's a trend, and it's exhausting. But Sanders isn't the only injury concern. Running back Jalen Wright is also unlikely to play in week 1, and his timeline remains vague. McDaniel claims it's not a long-term issue, but after everything we've seen, who can believe that? Wright, who had been building excitement in camp, now enters the season clouded by uncertainty. Will he need surgery? We don't know. And apparently, neither does the coaching staff, or they just don't want to tell us. Let's talk about roster moves. The Dolphins are deep in the process of cutting down to 53 players, and some of the names released are shocking. Mike Hilton and Pharaoh Brown are out. Yes, Mike Hilton, the guy many projected to hold a key role on defense, was released. The coaching staff says they like the competition around them, but these aren't names you release lightly. It suggests there's more going on, and it's possible the front office simply isn't making the moves they need to elevate this team. The list of cuts doesn't end there. As of now, the Dolphins have also released Jalen McKenzie, Mike Boone, Aaron Champlain, Jackson Carman, Ethan Robinson, Ben Still, A.J. Henning, and Addison West. The final 53 is still in flux, but the clock is ticking. Miami has until 4 p.m. tomorrow to finalize their roster, and then the waiver process begins at noon on Wednesday. That means more changes are coming, and fast. Cam Smith, one of the promising young corners, has reportedly shown flashes in camp, making good plays on the ball and showing improved fundamentals. But don't get too excited just yet. McDaniel still won't commit to giving him a bigger role. And speaking of corners, Jason Marshall may be in line for more snaps in the slot with Hilton out, but McDaniel, again, stops short of naming him a starter. As for the offensive line, Austin Jackson seems on track to start week 1, barring any setbacks. But again, when has that assurance from McDaniel ever really meant anything? And then there's the situation with Liam Eichenberg. The head coach isn't ready to commit to whether Eichenberg starts the year on IR or the PUP. This kind of indecision, just days away from roster finalization, is not a great sign. And to wrap this first part up, the Dolphins still haven't decided who their week 1 kicker will be. With Sanders out, a replacement needs to be brought in immediately. There's been no official signing yet, but one has to be coming. That decision, like so many others right now, will play a critical role in whether this team can get off to a strong start. Let's keep going, because the story behind the Dolphins roster moves and injury updates only gets more intriguing, and honestly, more frustrating. Now, looking deeper at this current situation, the question that really needs to be asked is, how many more setbacks can this team afford before it seriously threatens the momentum they've been trying to build all offseason. We've got a team loaded with talent on both sides of the ball, and yet every time we think we're set, something pulls us back. A missed opportunity, a poorly timed injury, or a questionable decision from the front office that leaves everyone scratching their heads. Starting with Jason Sanders, this isn't just a kicker situation. This is a chain reaction. Sanders was reliable, consistent, and more importantly, he gave the coaching staff peace of mind in critical moments. Now, we're heading into week 1 with a massive question mark at one of the most underrated positions on the field. And who are we replacing him with? That remains unanswered. Every day that passes without a signing is another day lost for that new kicker to build timing with the special teams unit. That's not something you can just wing in the NFL. And when you're playing in close games, which Miami always seems to do, those 3 points matter. They decide playoff berths. They decide home field advantage. They decide everything. And then there's Jalen Wright. Look, this kid was electric during training camp. Fans were getting hyped for good reason. He brought a burst and shiftiness that added a new layer to the running back room. But now, the buzz is silence. Mcdaniel says, we don't expect extended time, but hasn't ruled out surgery either. What does that even mean? It feels like a waiting game, and the longer this drags out without clarity, the more it points to another season where the Dolphins can't keep their backfield fully intact. With Devon Achane and Raheem Mostert also trying to stay healthy, the Dolphins' ground game could very well be shaky again out of the gate. Let's pivot back to the roster cuts, because these aren't your standard preseason trims. These are head turners. Mike Hilton, a proven veteran presence, gone. Pharaoh Brown, a dependable blocker and sneaky good red zone option, also gone. That's not just about who's been cut, it's about who's left. Do they really trust the next men up to deliver when the real bullets start flying in week 1? And what about the communication from McDaniel throughout all of this? Time and time again, we've seen him offer vague or overly optimistic statements, only for the truth to be significantly more concerning. This isn't about demanding full transparency on every injury, but there's a pattern developing. A pattern where fans are being strung along, only to be blindsided by bad news after being told it's not that serious. And when the media calls it out, the fans get divided, some still defending the head coach, others beginning to see a troubling trend. There's also a growing sense that Chris Grier is slipping. These roster decisions, the lack of depth at key positions, and the confusion around player statuses all feel like warning signs. Grier should have been gone after the last playoff collapse. There's no sugarcoating it. Yet, here he is, pulling the strings on a roster that still looks incomplete just days before final cuts. If this team starts slow, you can bet the fan base will be louder than ever calling for real change in the front office. And let's not forget the comments McDaniel made about Cam Smith. Finally, we're seeing the second-year corner take strides. And while McDaniel gave him some praise, talking about technique and consistent performance, he stopped short of endorsing him as a future starter. What are we waiting for? This is the time to develop these young playmakers, not keep them on a leash. Especially when guys like Nick Needham and Mike Hilton are no longer part of the equation. Meanwhile, Austin Jackson is supposedly on track to start week 1, barring setbacks. But how many times have we heard barring setbacks from this coaching staff? It's like the default disclaimer for everything now. And with the O-line still lacking cohesion and consistency, we can't afford to roll the dice on half-truths anymore. This unit needs to gel fast. The opening weeks of the season are critical, and any more surprises could put the offense under serious pressure. This all leads us to the fundamental question. Is this team being run with a championship mindset, or are we just patching holes and hoping for the best? The energy is there. The talent is there. The fans are ready. But the front office and the messaging from the coaching staff? Not matching that urgency. And with each passing day, the margin for error gets thinner. Every injury not taken seriously, every cut that doesn't make sense, every missed opportunity to strengthen the roster, that's one step closer to another season of what-ifs. So now I'm asking you, do you still believe this team is what it takes to start strong and make a run? Or are we seeing the same old Dolphins, just dressed in fresh optimism? Drop your thoughts below, and if you made it this far, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and check out the next video that's popping up on your screen right now. We've got a lot more Dolphins content coming your way. Let's ride this roller coaster together. Go Fins!